Welcome back to the Daily Spread. Today is March 30th. It is Thursday. I am Chris Ross. This is brought to you by the Land Grant Gauntlet. You can follow us on Twitter at _LGG. Or on YouTube, you find us, we'll have it linked. Hit the little subscribe button. That helps too. If you like the show, like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. And we will learn how to make you like it. Lots to talk about today. Joe Mixon, is he draftable? Teams are kind of mixed on him. The answer is he'll go somewhere, but what round? That's the question. Other things to talk about, let me pull up the list here. Ranking the Big 12 receivers, we did that yesterday, but that's out on the website. You can see that, check that out. Then we'll look at football's weirdest road trips and 5 things that Kansas State is to look for at Kansas State this spring. And Kansas has a defensive end that you might want to pay attention to. And Baylor landed a 3-star recruit. Like I said, today is Thursday. I will go ahead and get this tweeted out and shared out before we get going here. Let me grab that, as I like to do. If you've watched the show before, you know that we don't have, there's nobody behind the camera. It's kind of a one-man show when we do this. We typically hand it off between myself or Brady Trantham. But Brady is busy covering NBA and the Oklahoma City Thunder as we get closer to the playoffs. And, Westbrook had a lights-out game last night, which was unbelievable. I don't know how you don't have him as the MVP right now. What he's doing, he's making triple-doubles look normal, but they're not. I think we have to keep that in perspective. Okay, let me grab that and grab that. Tell people to get in here. Why is wrong with the link? All right. That'll do it. Okay. So first topic of today, Baylor landed a 3-star receiver yesterday. His name is Tyquan. I'm going to mess this up as I always do. Tyquan Thornton. He committed to Baylor. He's a 3-star guy out of Miami, Florida, of all places. Kind of Baylor going after the Florida area. That's really good for them. And he'll give them some. He's a good get. He's unranked position-wise according to 247 Sports. And I'm looking here. What Scout is pretty. He gave a quote to Scout. I chose Baylor because I feel that it will be the best fit for me, both athletically and academically. I feel that the coaches will help build me to be a better athlete, and they are allowing me to play ball and run track as well. So I think that's a big factor there. The fact that he can do track and football at the same time was probably, well, as he says, a big draw for him. So good get there for Baylor. Little recruiting news. If you haven't checked out our recruiting profiles, go to the website, do that. Hit recruiting, has all the news there. You can also check out the 2018 classes and how they stack up to each other right now. Oklahoma has taken the lead away from Kansas, if you haven't been paying attention. So definitely go check out those classes. Joe Mixon. I mean, we're all aware of his story. What happened with the punch there before his freshman year. Is he draftable? According to the NFL, teams are he's either on their board or he's not, which is kind of, that's an obvious statement. But a couple of teams have come out and said they flat out won't draft him. The Patriots being one, and then was it the Dolphins? I believe were the other. It's right here. Mel Kiper has him as the number one back in the draft. So, I mean, I don't doubt it. He's incredibly talented, and what he brings to the passing game as well, he's got great hands, and I think that's a pretty underrated skill set of his. But he showed out well in the pro day. So I mean, he should do well. The Dolphins were the other one that did not, have said they will not draft him. However, the Eagles have said he is on their board. So I think projected right now, he's a second-round guy. He would clearly be a first-round guy if it wasn't for off-the-field troubles. Would you draft him? I don't know. I think I would. I would take a chance. Obviously, it's worked out for the Kansas City Chiefs and Tyreek Hill there. I think it goes, but if he messes up, he's gone. Like, I think that has to be the line in the sand. Like, he's got to be on thin ice because you're taking a risk, and if he makes you look bad, then you have to let him go. You can't. He can't make you regret that taking that risk. But at this point, so young in his career, it was a really unfortunate incident. I don't think OU handled it appropriately, but it was a split-second decision by him, and I think we've all made split-second decisions that we've later regretted. But that should be... I'm not going to say he doesn't deserve a second chance. I truly do think he does, and I think a team will get lucky with him there and get a pretty good value for him. Would you draft him? Let us know in the comments. Let us know your thoughts if you agree, disagree. Is he off your quote-unquote board? Let us know. This is a pretty cool story. ESPN.com is covering a Kansas player, Dorrance Armstrong Jr. He had a pretty great year last year, and Coach Beatty doesn't understand why he wasn't an All-American, because the kid is a beast. And in fact, he compares him to Myles Garrett, and that's a pretty tall comparison there. However, if anybody would know how to make that comparison, it is David Beatty, because he recruited Garrett. So he knows what he's talking about. So when he makes that comparison, he knows exactly what he's saying. He's just not he's not spouting off. He knows it. He says Dorrance is a stud. The fact that he didn't make All-American last year was shocking to me. He got robbed. He's unbelievable. He's a freak. He is Myles Garrett, and Myles is a freak. This guy's a beast. So if you're a Jayhawk fan, this guy is going to be a game changer in 2017 for you. You gotta like the track that Beatty has his team on, and guys like this and guys that are coming in with the 2018 class, that those 4 stars that are committed right now. You have to just be excited for what Beatty is doing for this program and what he's bringing in. So I think that's great there. The profile, read it. It'll be linked in the article afterwards. But this kid is going to be an absolute beast and a good player for the Jayhawks, which we don't get to say about the Jayhawks all too often. So that is really, really cool there. All right. Speaking of Kansas, we're going to actually go to their in-state rival. A little news today out of the Salina Journal. I'm not super familiar with them, but the Salina Journal, they have 5 things to watch for K-State this spring. And I think it's a pretty good little write-up. It lets you know kind of what Kansas State is a contender in the Big 12 this year. Make no mistake, it's Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and Kansas State, maybe in that order, but those 3 teams will be contending for the Big 12 title. You have some dark horses like West Virginia and TCU that they could upset the whole thing depending how things go. But West Virginia, or K-State, Oklahoma State. So some things to look for on Kansas State. Backup quarterback, who's the next linebacker up, crowded backfield, and then of course Snyder's health is some things they talk about there. So a good little write-up. Definitely check that out. We'll have it linked as we do after the show on the website. Some other news today. Oh, this is really cool. So James Washington, we all know, is an absolute beast. He was a Biletnikoff finalist. He's one of the best receivers in college football. He's probably the best receiver in the Big 12. However, what if he's not even the best receiver on his own team? And that's a legitimate comparison there. I don't think people understand how loaded the Cowboys are at receiver. It's absolutely incredible. You look at Marcel Aitman, and in 2015 what he did and how he came on, he was poised for a breakout year in 2016. He hurt his foot though before the season, so he didn't play last year, but he is back fully healthy this year. And that kid, I'm telling you, James Washington might not be the go-to receiver for Rudolph. That might be Marcel Aitman, and I would not be surprised if Aitman finished the year with more catches than Washington, and therefore, more yards and that kind of thing. But definitely, it's going to be a nightmare for defenses, because who are they going to cover? You don't know. You can't double team Washington. You can't cover him with a safety and leave Aitman just running free in the backfield because you'll just get torched. Not to mention, having Chris Lacey and McCluskey and everybody else that they have at receiver. It's absolutely insane. But a couple of these quotes, this is on Pistols Firing, by the way. They're looking at Marcell Ateman and kind of his determination to get back to the field after his kind of freak injury there before the season last year. But it's really cool. A couple of these quotes I found to be really, really not cool. And this one from Coach Dunn. The kid busted his ass. He was ready for 2016. For him, it was just a devastating blow. And for us too, because I told several people I thought he might have the biggest year in our receiving core. James is a talented guy, but Marcell was killing it. And now he's had a whole nother year to get bigger, to get faster, to get better. And I'm telling you, this kid is going to be a beast. It is going to be almost impossible. At 6'4", he's going to be impossible to match up well for defenses there. And that's why I think he could end up as Rudolph's go-to guy. Because as Rudolph said, when you're out there running for your life, you have a 6'4" guy and a 5'10" guy. That's a pretty safe throw up. I think that's a ball that most quarterbacks are going to throw up and feel pretty comfortable about. So, definitely pay attention to that. But it's a great write-up. It's pretty lengthy, but it's a good read there on Pistols Firing. Definitely check that out. Marcell Ateman is going to be a beast, and that's going to make Oklahoma State with all their weapons just that much more lethal on offense. Speaking of receivers, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, so I won't spend too much on it today. But we have the receiving cores ranked. The Cowboys are obviously number one with all their talent, not to speak of Tyron Johnson, the LSU transfer coming in. It's just sick how many guys they have returning. But Texas Tech has a lot of talent coming back as well, and some other schools, so definitely check that out. Oklahoma might actually surprise a few people where they're ranked at 6th, I believe, is what that was. I don't have it pulled up, and I'm not going to pull it up because I don't want to spend too much time on it. But I believe OU is 6th, and that's a little bit surprising. But as OU does, they just reload. They go out and get guys, and they just got the Kentucky transfer and Jeff Bede. I ruin everybody's name. That's what I do. But he's going to be a good get for OU, and he gives them some immediate. He gives Baker Mayfield somewhere to throw to immediately, and that's what OU does. They just go out and get more people, even when they look like they are kind of weak at a position. All right. Lastly, to wrap up today, a kind of a fun thing from SB Nation. Talk about rankings. SB Nation is looking at the weirdest college football schedules of 2017. Specifically, the weirdest, strangest road trips that kind of make you, who's going where and why. And there's a few Big 12 teams mentioned. In fact, the very first game up, number 22, Texas Tech at Houston. I don't know. To me, that's not all that weird. I mean, Houston is, I think they're a school worthy of traveling to. OU clearly thought that last year. And Houston kind of held their own in that game and kind of sent Sooners home with a loss. So I'm not going to say that's a weird, I don't know, it's not a weird matchup. I think it's weird that Houston holds the all-time series advantage over Texas Tech. That's a little bit surprising, and they mentioned that there on the article, so that's kind of cool. Scrolling down, I'm not seeing anybody until we get to number 10 in the ranking is Kansas at Ohio. Again, not all that weird. I mean, if you consider who the Jayhawks are, and it's no offense to Kansas, but we know who they are in the Big 12. Ohio, I'm not going to lie, I have no clue how good they're going to be in 2017. I haven't looked at Ohio, I haven't read about Ohio, I don't know anything about the Bobcats this year. What I do know is that they've been good before, and I know that they have been a quality team not that long ago. I think it was 2 or 3 seasons ago. I paid a lot of attention to them in picking against the spread because they were covering most of their games, and they were a team you could ride for an easy pickup there. So I do love that I don't have a problem with the Jayhawks going to Ohio, especially, and I'll get into more reasons here, but there's a reason I think teams are doing this, and I think it's kind of interesting. Then you have Iowa State going to Akron, and they take the number 8 spot on this list. Again, I think that's a little more weird than the Ohio game, but not super, super weird. Iowa State should win You gotta like the direction the Cyclones are going. Jacob Park seems to be the QB of the future, and or of this year, and I think the Cyclones will have an easy time with that game. But the Akron, they're MAC-ing. Anything can happen. Who knows? It's the MAC. That's what happens. And then taking the number 1 spot in the entire list is the Oklahoma State Cowboys at South Alabama. Now that is truly weird. Oklahoma State contending for the Big 12, maybe more in 2017, possible college football playoff team, and you're traveling to South Alabama, who didn't even have a program all that long ago. I think it was maybe 6 or 7 years ago that they didn't even exist. So that's kind of strange that Oklahoma State is traveling to there. That one truly makes you scratch your head. But here's what I think is going on. I think that this is a recruiting play, and this is a way to get Oklahoma State in front of some guys in the SEC area, the Alabama, LSU, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi area that might not be able to watch Oklahoma State in person normally, but they can go to that game, watch Oklahoma State's ridiculous offense just destroy a team, and a different brand of football, a more exciting brand of football than the SEC. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of the thought process behind the Cowboys' decision to schedule that game, because otherwise it just makes absolutely no sense. So a little bit, if that was the reason, I don't have a problem with it. If it was just to do it, then that is weird and kind of it seems like that would be a strange matchup for the Cowboys to accept that game. But it is what it is. I think that Oklahoma State should obviously have no problems with that one. But that's a great write-up. And I think that's about all we have for you today. Let me scan through here one more time, see if anything has popped up. And I am not seeing anything. We're getting a little bit late here. So I will call it a day. We will see you tomorrow. If you like this show, like it. If you don't like it, hit the thumbs down button. If you're watching this on YouTube later, hit the subscribe button. I'm Chris Ross. This has been the Daily Spread. It's Thursday, March 30th. So tomorrow's Friday. So happy Friday. And see you guys. Thanks.